Hey everyone, KYT here to do a little portfolio update and to update you guys on my house search. I had posted on Blossom that we as a family started to put out some serious offers on houses we're interested in. And we don't have a house yet, but just that procedure, just getting into a process and learning about the process has been a good learning experience. Let's just jump straight to the portfolio. If you're new to the channel, you might not know that I have all my accounts in XEQT. That includes the TFSA, the RRSP, the RESP, and a personal taxable account. So XEQT has been having a great year. So of course, we're going to see that reflected in my spreadsheet here, where these are the updates I've made when making the videos. And if we tabulate my accounts from Wealthsimple, Questrade, and Interactive Brokers, we've gone up to $20,000 since October. And if we jump in my Wealthsimple really quick, we can see the all-time performance is 28.51%, which is pretty good. And it's trending well. Now, often when I show a portfolio, a lot of people get impressed by 5 to 6 figures portfolio and wonder how much I started with, when did I get started? And while these questions I'm trying to satisfy people's curiosity, ultimately for you, if you're just starting now, it's to figure out why a globally diversified portfolio is the best strategy for most people and just start employing it. And that's why I made this really condensed, but also concise and detailed-oriented cheat sheet that will fill you in if you know absolutely nothing right now. And now to the house search. This website, Centris.ca, has been visited a lot by me over the past couple of months as we search and filter out what house is the best for my family in the short term and possibly in the long term, because we did consider getting a starter home or a forever home, and we had different filters for that. One thing my wife made me notice right away is that sometimes you really want to install the app of these websites. For example, this place we're looking at on the mobile app went down by 2%. And it's okay that I'm showing where I'm looking because we're looking everywhere on the island of Montreal, north of Montreal, on the South Shore, west, east, literally everywhere, because, well, I work remote, so it's a lot easier for me to move around. So we have some flexibility in terms of location, and my parents and my in-laws live in basically opposite corners of Quebec. So any area is sort of like closer to one and further from the other. So it's like a constant equation to figure out like where we want to be. And yeah, it's a huge challenge, needless to say. And now we're in spreadsheet land because I just want to tackle quickly one of the most commonly asked questions, which is what should I do with the money that I'm saving for a down payment? And you see the most popular advice, and it's a very reasonable advice, is to put it in something like cash.to or similar ETFs or a GIC, because if you have a huge exposure to stocks, and it doesn't matter if it's stocks, regular stocks, growth stocks, or dividend stocks, exposing yourself to the stock market, you can have tremendous losses, which can change the target house that you can get. For example, if right now it's expensive, let's say it's $700,000, which is the price that's currently out there. Maybe it does motivate people for them to see what, even if they're not buying now, to see what a house that they would like costs now, because obviously in 5 to 10 years, the price with inflation will be higher up. So giving yourself an idea now might be a good idea. It might motivate you to save more. But let's say you have an ideal house at $700K and you need to put 20% down. That requires you to have 140. So let's say you have 140 ready to go. The problem is if this 140 that you have invested in a stock portfolio drops 30%, and now you're left with 98K. And if you only have 98K and you still need to put 20% down, now the house has to downgrade. Your filter will have to go from max price 700K to 490K. And that's why a lot of advice is centered around being really safe with this down payment. Now, some people might ask, like, why don't I do this then? Why don't I have a safe vehicle to put my down payment? Why do I have everything in XEQT? And that's because I'm a lot more flexible. I have the luxury of having enough to put towards our down payment, even with a significant crash. And the flexibility comes into the type of house we would get. Like if I'm forced to get a cheaper house, we would do that. But probably what's going to happen is in case of a crash, we would just be more flexible with the other parts of our budget, like other non-house stuff we would have to cut. And it's being able to be okay with that allows for that type of strategy, of course. I'll end this video by talking about something interesting that I learned, different ways that different people could price their property that they want to be selling, like different strategies. One approach is to set the asking price at where you ideally want to sell it, but I've seen others underprice their property because then they will show up in more people's filters because a lot of people's budget might be 600K. So even if you want 650 out of it, you should put yourself in 590 if your goal is to attract different bidders to bid up all the way to 650. And that's an interesting strategy because it happened to one of the houses we looked at, and this one was set at 575, and we weren't interested in at all, but then we would later find out that it would sell for 676. So more than 100K above what the asking price was. But of course, it doesn't mean that it really went up that much if the person that owned the property was undercutting it already so that this would happen. Meaning like maybe they viewed the price at roughly 650 and they went to 575 because they thought they would attract more bidders, and then it went up to 676 versus setting it at 650, attracting less buyers, and maybe they would get lowball. Maybe some people would just throw 610, 625. So it really depends. But I thought it was really interesting to see that and to experience and to learn about this pricing stuff. But with that said, I'll see you in the next one, and hopefully I'm a house owner.